Hey everyone, it is Dave. Welcome in. It's time to talk about module number 11. This week is kind of a very easy week, to be honest with you. We're going to be covering post-impressionism as well as specifically looking at the artist Vincent van Gogh, one of everyone's favorite artists. There's no other work to do this week besides the journal, so this is a good week to catch up on any journals you may have missed because we're very close to the end of the semester. Looking at the schedule ahead, modules 12, 13, 14 will wrap us up with the material, and then module 15 is going to be where the final exam is. So we're only about a month away from finishing out the class. We're going to go ahead and go to the Canvas site. I'll walk you through everything you need to know for this week. All right, here we are on the Canvas site. I apologize for any background noise you may hear. I've got a neighbor throwing a party and he's like a block away, so it must be a fantastic party. But this week we've got module 11 to get through, and this is all about post-impressionism. So earlier on we've kind of watched Edward Manet kind of develop this idea of modern art. The Impressionists are the first secessionist art movement that go out and have their own exhibitions away from the salon with this new kind of really cool avant-garde type of painting. These individuals are similar to the Impressionists because they're roughly the same time, but they're not really interested in perceptual color. They're interested in expressive uses of color, as well as eliminating the idea of linear perspective, making images flatter and more two-dimensional. So up top, we've got our video you're watching. We've got our action plan for the week in my office hours every Wednesday from 3 to 7. The first lecture is a general lecture about post-impressionism, and it highlights many of the artists, the study guide, and then in the further exploration section, there are a few things you want to take a look at. First, we have the lost wax process, which creates a hollow sculpture. It's a really cool and interesting process. We also have lithographic printing. We've earlier in the semester talked about relief printing and intaglio printing. This is a much easier way of creating prints for the average artist. And so you see a lot of painters and sculptors and people like that who are actually dealing with lithography compared to previous works tended to be people who just focused on printmaking. So this is kind of a much easier process. We also have this documentary called The Art of the Steal. It is an optional video, but it's really, really good. I mean, if you don't like politicians or lawyers now, you will hate them even more after watching this documentary. I normally suggest bookmarking this, watch it after the semester's over, and I do suggest watching it in 2 parts. It is a full 2-hour film, and it can get pretty dry if you watch it in one sitting, because it does have a lot of lawyer and political issues. But it's a really cool video because it talks about this guy who dies, who has this great post-impressionist art collection, and the lawyers and political people basically steal his art collection and go against his will. So, fascinating film. The lecture on Van Gogh. So this one here is a professional lecture, but I was not able to embed it since I'm not the host of the lecture. I was very similar to the art theft lecture. I was a guest speaker, and this is the one I did on Vincent van Gogh. It's about an hour long. You don't have to wait for the Q&A at the end, but that's a great lecture. I have not had time to update my original one. This one's a much shorter lecture, but only watch that if this link ever goes out of business. After that, we have our study guide and we have our further exploration section, which deals with the letters of Vincent van Gogh. We have like over 700 letters of his. You can actually see scans and see his writing, and it's translated so you can see what he's talking about. They're really, really neat. So that's something to check out. If you're a Doctor Who fan, Vincent and the Doctor, historically inaccurate, but it is a really great episode, and this is just a couple-minute clip from that. Don McLean's tribute song to Vincent van Gogh, and then In Search Of was a really cool TV show back in the 1970s, and it was on for like 6 seasons. Leonard Nimoy, Spock, he was the host of it, and they covered a wide range of topics, everything from UFOs to climate change to tsunamis, and this one happens to be on Vincent van Gogh. Leonard Nimoy actually played Vincent's brother Theo in a stage production of Vincent's life. And so he's got some really great tie-ins to the story, and it's a very, very good episode. So if you have an extra 25 minutes, that's a great one to watch. The final thing we have to do this week is a journal. There's nothing to submit this week, but just as a reminder, if you have not completed the Modern Architecture worksheet, please complete that and submit it. You do have until the 20th to complete that. So journal entry number 9 is on the reading called Notes of a Painter. And it is a reading it is written by Henri Matisse. And what's really cool about modernism is that these people, when they're writing this stuff and people are reading it for the first time, everyone is still alive. So you always hear about, it's weird to think about Matisse like in the present tense. Like, he is literally, cruising around New York sometimes at the Museum of Modern Art. He's living in the south of France, all sorts of cool things. And he's really talking about, in Notes of a Painter, how painting is of our time and place. And we can never replicate that. So what we produce now as artists speaks specifically to what life is like in 2025 or the surrounding years. It's an important reading to get through. It's a little bit on the longer side. I think it's like 5 or 6 pages, but read through it, write down your thoughts about it. That's what I'm looking for this journal. And as I mentioned previously, we are getting toward the very end of the semester. So we have 12, 13, and 14 as far as the modules that will have information in them. And then module 15 will be the final exam. So we've got just about a month together, and I will see you guys soon to talk to you about module number 12.